The violet sky of Tessera Prime always looked peaceful from far away. But tonight, the sky felt colder than usual, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The great river of Calion flowed through the center of the glass city, its waters glowing with a faint blue light. People rarely came near the river at night. Its currents had a strange reputation, and a darker truth hidden beneath the surface. A small group of aliens walked slowly toward the riverbank. Their steps were heavy. Their eyes were sad but firm. In the center of the group lay Erisvel, a young alien woman with pale silver skin and long white markings running across her arms. Her body was motionless. She had been paralyzed for many years. Her own family carried her in silence, as if the night itself demanded respect. Erisvel heard everything: the wind, the footsteps, the soft voices, but her body did not respond. She could not lift her hands. She could not even turn her head. All she had were her thoughts. And tonight, her thoughts were full of fear. Her family stopped at the edge of the river. The glowing blue water cast strange reflections across their faces. One of the elders spoke in a trembling voice, performing an ancient chant. It was a ritual older than the city itself. A ritual known only to the Crimson Current clan. A ritual of release. The chant grew louder. Then, without hesitation, her family lifted her body and lowered her toward the water. Erisvel tried to speak, tried to cry out, tried to move even a single finger, but nothing happened. The moment her body touched the icy surface, she felt the shock run through her. And then, she was dropped. The water swallowed her in seconds. The cold slammed into her like knives. Darkness closed around her. Her mind screamed, but her voice was locked inside her head. She felt the river pulling her deeper, dragging her away from the surface, away from the stars, away from the last warm breath she might ever feel. Far above the planet, a human freighter entered orbit. The Aurora's Dawn was a mid-sized ship carrying a small crew of diplomats, engineers, and one stubborn pilot named Mira Song. Mira sat in the cockpit, sipping a cup of rehydrated coffee. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp as she studied the glowing surface of Tessera Prime below. Her ship's scanners picked up nothing unusual, yet Mira felt a strange pressure in her chest, like something on the planet was calling out. She leaned closer to the window, squinting at the river. Her instincts rarely failed her, and tonight they screamed that something was wrong. Then she saw it, a pale shape drifting through the glowing water. Her heart skipped. She leaned forward until her forehead nearly touched the glass. Is that a person? Without waiting for permission, command, or clearance, she jumped from her seat and ran to the launch bay. She grabbed a thin emergency dive suit, locked it over her clothes, and hit the pressure release. The bay doors opened. Cold air rushed around her. Mira dove. The drop was long. The wind roared in her ears. The lights of the river grew closer. She hit the surface hard and disappeared beneath the water. Inside the icy depths, Myra's suit lights cut through the darkness. She pushed deeper, swimming against the current. Her breath trembled as she fought to stay steady. Then she saw the alien woman sinking slowly toward the bottom, her white markings glowing faintly. Mira grabbed Erisvel by the arm and pulled her close. The woman was ice-cold and unresponsive, but still alive. Mira kicked upward, battling the river. Her lungs burned. Her muscles shook. But she refused to let go. Breaking through the surface, Mira dragged the alien woman to the shore. As she pulled Erisvel out of the water, she noticed shadows watching from the trees, tall figures with glowing eyes. Her family. But instead of helping, they stepped back into the darkness. Mira clutched the motionless woman in her arms and whispered, "Don't worry. I've got you." And far below the surface, unseen by both of them, the river currents shifted as if something ancient had awakened. The rain started only moments after Mira pulled Erisvel onto the riverbank. Soft droplets first, then stronger, until the entire shoreline was wrapped in a cold mist. The river glowed faintly behind them, sending long ripples of blue light across the wet ground. Mira knelt beside the alien woman, pressing her ear close to Erisvel's chest. A heartbeat. Weak, but steady. "Good," Mira whispered. "Stay with me." But something else bothered her. A feeling she couldn't shake. The hairs on her arms rose. She turned her head slowly toward the tree line. The shadows she had seen earlier were still there, motionless, silent, watching. They didn't speak. They didn't approach. They didn't even breathe loudly. They only stared at the human pilot holding the woman they had thrown away. Mira felt anger rising. She stood up, water dripping from her suit. Hey, she's alive. Why aren't you helping? The figures didn't move. Instead, one of them turned and in a single, smooth motion, melted back into the forest as if swallowed by the dark. The others followed, vanishing one by one, leaving only the sound of rain and river behind. Mira cursed under her breath. What kind of people leave someone like this? She lifted Arisvel carefully into her arms and began making her way uphill, boots slipping in the mud. She activated the beacon on her wrist. A bright signal shot into the sky. Above the clouds, the Aurora's dawn received it. Inside the ship, Dr. Kelvin Rao, the science officer, was the first to respond. Pilot Song, what happened? Your vitals are spiking. I need a medical pod prepped now, Mira said while climbing. I found someone. Alive, but in bad shape. Rao stiffened. Someone? A local? Yes. And she wasn't in the river by accident. The silence on the other end told Mira the doctor understood more than he said. Within minutes, a shuttle descended through the mist, landing lights bright and solid against the stormy sky. 2 human crew members rushed out with a graph stretcher. Mira helped them lift Arisvel onto it. The alien woman's skin shimmered faintly, reacting to the atmosphere. As they loaded her inside, one crewman frowned. What is she? Her vitals are strange. Mira wiped rain from her face. Someone who needs help. That's enough. The shuttle lifted and shot upward toward the orbiting ship. Inside the medical bay, Dr. Rao studied the alien woman with a mix of curiosity and worry. Paralysis, he murmured. But not natural. Something in her nervous system has been disrupted for years. He frowned deeper. And her brain activity, it's unlike anything I've seen. There's a constant pulse, as if her mind is shouting silently. Mira stood beside him, arms crossed. Can you stabilize her? I'll try. But Mira, whatever happened to her wasn't just a sickness. It was intentional. Myra's jaw tightened. She thought of the silent figures at the river. Their emotionless faces. Their refusal to help. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. A low tremor vibrated through the hull. Dr. Rao looked up sharply. What was that? A crewman ran in from the bridge. Captain says to brace. We detected multiple life forms gathering near the riverbank. They appeared seconds after the shuttle left. They're watching the sky now. Mira froze. They followed the shuttle? They're tracking something, the crewman said. Maybe the woman. Maybe us. Dr. Rao's eyes widened. If they see us as interference, this could become a diplomatic nightmare. Mira shook her head. This isn't diplomacy. They tried to drown her. The doctor didn't argue. Behind them, Arisvel stirred inside the pod. Her fingers twitched faintly. Her eyelids fluttered. Then, barely moving, she exhaled a single sound. Not a word. Not a cry. A whisper of images. Mira gasped as a vision flashed into her mind. A glowing river. A circle of hooded figures. A hand pushing her under the water. A symbol carved in stone. And then, an enormous cavern beneath the planet, filled with red light and chanting. Mira staggered back. She spoke to me. Somehow, Dr. Rao stared at the readings. Telepathy. Powerful, unstable, ancient. The lights in the med bay flickered again. Mira felt her heartbeat quicken. The watchers were not done. Something was coming. And now that humanity had taken Arisvel, they had just stepped into a ritual they didn't understand. Inside the Aurora's dawn, the air felt heavy, like the ship itself sensed danger. The storm outside had quieted, but a different kind of storm was forming around the human crew. Mira stood beside Arisvel's medical pod, watching the alien woman's glowing markings pulse slowly under the glass. Each pulse sent a strange vibration through the room, like a heartbeat echoing through the metal walls. Dr. Kelvin Rao worked quietly at his console, scanning her brainwaves. Sweat formed on his forehead. Mira, he said, his voice low. I've studied alien biology for 15 years, and I've never seen something like this. What's happening to her? Mira asked. Rao swallowed. Her mind isn't sleeping. It's searching, reaching, almost as if she's trying to find someone. Mira crossed her arms. Her family? Those people on the riverbank? No, Rao said. Someone, or something, from much deeper. Before Mira could respond, the ship alarm sounded twice. A crew member radioed in, voice shaky. Pilot Song, Dr. Rao, report to the bridge. Immediately, Mira and Rao exchanged a look and hurried to the command center. As they stepped inside, the captain pointed at the main screen. Mira felt a chill crawl down her spine. Dozens, maybe hundreds, of alien figures were gathering near the riverbank where Mira had rescued Erisvel. Their bodies formed a perfect circular pattern. None of them spoke. None of them moved. They simply stared upward, as if watching the ship in orbit. The captain zoomed in. Symbols were carved into the ground around them, glowing red patterns that spread across the earth like veins. Dr. Rao inhaled sharply. Crimson current symbols. Mira frowned. What does that mean? Rao hesitated before answering. It's a caste. A powerful one. They believe the river chooses who lives and who serves in the afterflow. It's not a normal ritual. It's a sacrifice. Mira clenched her fists. They wanted her dead. Or, Rao said quietly, they wanted her returned to something beneath the river. The captain turned to Mira. And you pulled her out. Myra's jaw tightened. I wasn't going to let someone drown. A harsh beep interrupted the tension. Erisvel's heartbeat spiked on the medical screens. Mira rushed back to the medbay. Erisvel's eyes were now half open, glowing dimly with a silver light. Her fingers twitched in the air, as if trying to draw patterns only she could see. Then, without warning, her thoughts exploded outward. A telepathic shockwave slammed into the humans. Mira staggered. The room spun. Images flashed in her mind in crystal clarity. A red-lit cavern beneath the planet. Water flowing upward like gravity was reversed. A ring of hooded figures chanting. A stone altar carved with spirals. A symbol, 3 curved lines crossing in the center. And Erisvel lying on the stone. Paralyzed. Terrified. Helpless. Mira gasped as the vision snapped back. Erisvel's lips parted slightly, and for the first time, a real voice, fragile and trembling, escaped her throat. They marked me. Mira leaned closer. What mark? Who? Erisvel struggled to breathe, her voice barely a whisper. Crimson current. They chose me to feed the river. But the river refused. Dr. Rao froze. Refused. Erisvel nodded weakly. My family feared the river's rejection. They believed I would bring catastrophe. The ship lights flickered again. Rao stared at the trembling ceiling. Catastrophe. Erisvel's eyes widened with sudden terror. Her voice strengthened for one moment, full of urgency. They are coming for me. Mira stepped back. Who? The Watchers? No. Erisvel's voice thinned. Something older. Something below the river. It wakes when the ritual is broken. A deep rumble shook the ship. The intercom buzzed with panic. Unidentified energy surged rising from the planet's crust. It's targeting us. Erisvel pressed her trembling palm against the glass of the pod. Her silver markings flared bright, glowing like molten metal. She stared at Mira, desperate, terrified, pleading. You must not let them take me back. The lights died. Everything went dark. And far beneath the planet's surface, something immense shifted, as if it had just opened its eyes. The Aurora's dawn shuddered violently as emergency lights flickered on. Red pulses flashed through the corridors while crew members sprinted to their stations. The ship felt alive, panicked, like a giant heart beating too fast. Mira grabbed the edge of a console to steady herself. Report. What hit us? A voice crackled over the intercom from engineering. It's not a physical attack. Something is scanning us, like a sonar pulse, but from below the planet. Below. The word made Myra's stomach twist. Erisvel had mentioned something older. Something under the river. Dr. Rao ran toward the medbay, and Mira followed. The moment they entered, they felt the air crackle. The entire room vibrated with a low, pulsing hum. Erisvel's markings were blazing bright now, silver streams racing across her skin like electricity. Her pod trembled. Then a thin crack formed across the glass. Back! Rao shouted. Mira grabbed him by the collar and pulled him away just as the glass exploded outward. Shards flew across the room, but melted into silver dust before touching the floor. Erisvel slowly sat up, her chest rising and falling in sharp, painful breaths. She wasn't fully conscious, but she wasn't helpless anymore. Rao scanned her quickly. Her nervous system is rebooting. Something is forcing her body to wake up. Erisvel whispered with trembling lips. It is calling. Mira crouched beside her. What is calling you? The deep current. Erisvel clutched her head. It knows I escaped the ritual. It wants me returned. Suddenly, the ship alarm blared again. Pilot song. Report to the hangar immediately. Unknown crafts rising from the planet. Mira sprinted down the corridor. The entire ship shook violently now, like a drum being hit from below. When she reached the hangar, the doors were already open, revealing the deep black of space. But something else filled the sky. Dozens of narrow, blade-shaped alien crafts rose from the atmosphere, moving in absolute silence. Their hulls glowed faint red, matching the symbols carved into the ground earlier. The Crimson Current. The Watchers. Mira cursed under her breath. They're not giving up. The captain shouted orders. All defensive shields up. Do not fire unless fired upon. Mira strapped into a pilot's seat in one of the smaller tactical shuttles. She powered it up, engines screaming awake. Through the screen, she saw the alien crafts forming a perfect circle around the Aurora's dawn, like hunters surrounding a wounded animal. A voice echoed on open comms, low and cold. Return the marked one. Mira snarled. Not happening. The alien crafts moved closer. Inside the ship, Dr. Rao tried to pull Arisvel onto a stretcher, but she refused. Her legs trembled as she attempted to stand for the first time in years. She took one small step, then another, then fell. Rao caught her. You're not ready, he whispered. I must try, she said weakly. If they take me, the ritual completes. The river opens. Your ship, your people, will be pulled in. Rao froze. Pulled into what? Arisvel's eyes filled with fear. Into the old flow. Into the deep. In the hangar, Mira launched her tactical shuttle as the alien fleet closed in. Her engines roared as she flew straight into their formation. She dodged a spear-like craft by inches. Their ships moved silently and smoothly, like blades cutting through water. She opened the comm. Captain, they're preparing to breach our hull. Dr. Rao's voice answered, breathless. Mira, you need to buy us time. Arisvel, she's waking up, but something is pulling at her mind. If they get close, it will drag her back. Mira tightened her grip on the controls. Then nobody gets close. She accelerated full speed, slicing between two enemy ships. Their red lights flickered as they adjusted formation to chase her. Mira flipped the shuttle, fired a short EMP burst, not enough to start a war, but enough to blind them temporarily. 3 crafts spun away, losing formation. But the rest didn't falter. Inside the ship, the lights dimmed again. Arisvel clutched her chest, as if invisible chains tightened around her. They are trying to take my mind first, then my body. Rao supported her. Fight it. Stay with us. Mira pulled her shuttle upward and looped behind the alien circle, drawing several crafts away from the mother ship. We're not losing her, Mira whispered through clenched teeth. Not to a river. Not to a cult. Not to anything. But as she turned her shuttle, her sensors picked up something rising from the planet's surface. Something massive, something ancient. A shape the size of a mountain, emerging beneath the river. The deep current had awakened, and it was coming straight for them. The sensors on Myra's shuttle screamed warnings as the massive shape rose from Tessera Prime's riverbed. Red lines flashed across her screen, glitching from the sheer energy coming from below. Mira steadied the controls, her breath tight in her chest. What in the world? It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a creature. It was something in between. A colossal living structure, part stone, part metal, part bone. It rose slowly, shaking off thousands of years of silence. Its surface glowed with swirling red currents that looked disturbingly similar to the markings on Arisvel's skin. Inside the Aurora's dawn, alarms blared. Crew members shouted over one another as the entire vessel vibrated. Dr. Rao held Arisvel upright. She trembled violently, her body reacting to the energy rising from the planet. It has woken, she whispered. The deep current, the heart below. Rao stiffened. What is it? Arisvel's voice shook. A guardian. A judge. It watches those chosen for the ritual. And when one escapes, it rises. Rao's face drained of color. So it's coming for you. A wave of psychic pressure washed through the ship. Glass cracked. Lights flickered. Every human felt a headache form behind their eyes. Arisvel gasped and grabbed her head. It's trying to call me back, she said with a trembling voice. If I answer, I will drown in its mind. Rao tightened his grip. You won't. Stay here. Fight it. Arisvel tried to nod, but another spike of psychic force slammed into her. She collapsed to her knees. Outside, Myra's shuttle dodged the alien watchers who chased her through the sky. Red beams shot past her cockpit, slicing the darkness like needles. Mira spun the shuttle, dove beneath one ship, then accelerated upward. Come on, come on. She wasn't trying to run. She was trying to pull them away. If they reached Erisvel, the ritual would complete. The deep current would take her. And if it took her, more would wake below the crust. Humanity wasn't ready for that. She activated the comm, Aurora's dawn. Talk to me. What is that thing rising from the planet? The captain's voice crackled back. Unknown. But it's emitting a gravitational field. We're losing altitude. The ship slowly sank toward the atmosphere, dragged by an unseen force. Mira felt cold panic. If the ship goes down, we all go down. Inside the sinking vessel, Dr. Rao worked fast. He connected Erisvel to portable neural stabilizers. Sparks burst from the machines immediately. Her mind wasn't just resisting. It was fighting something ancient. Erisvel opened her eyes, tears streaming down her silver skin. You do not understand. I was not sacrificed because I was weak. I was sacrificed because I carry the key to its awakening. Rao froze. Key. She touched her glowing markings. These are not decorations. They were carved when I was born. My clan believed I was chosen by the river, marked to be given to the heart below. Rao swallowed. Then saving you may have triggered all of this. Erisvel nodded painfully. And if I fall back into its call, it will rise fully. Not just one guardian. All of them. The ship shook again, nearly throwing them off their feet. Mira finally shook off the last of the pursuing watchers by diving low and using the planet's magnetic field to disrupt their sensors. She pulled her shuttle back toward the mother ship, engines screaming. From her window, she saw the Aurora's dawn being dragged downward by invisible currents, straight toward the rising Titan below. No, not on my watch. She switched to manual override and pushed the engines far past safe limits. The shuttle roared toward the ship. As she approached, she saw the watchers closing in again, faster this time. Mira to crew, prepare for emergency docking. The hangar bay opened just long enough for her shuttle to slip inside before slamming shut again. She sprinted through the corridors, heading straight for the med bay. When she arrived, Erisvel was on the floor, trembling uncontrollably, silver cracks glowing across her skin like lightning. Mira, Erisvel whispered, barely conscious. If I lose control, everything dies. Mira knelt beside her, gripping her hands tightly. Then don't lose control. Not now. Not ever. A deeper rumble shook the ship. The heart below shadow now covered half the sky. Dr. Rao stared at the readings, horrified. If that thing reaches full emergence, it will pull the entire city of Calion into the planet's core. Mira stood, determination burning in her eyes. Then we stop it. Erisvel looked up, weak but hopeful. How? Mira tightened her fists. We go down there. And for the first time, Erisvel smiled through her fear. HFY was about to begin. The descent into Tessara Prime's crust felt like falling into a nightmare. The Aurora's dawn shook violently as Mira guided the shuttle into a narrow fissure that opened beneath the river. Sharp rocks scraped the hull. Steam rose from glowing cracks in the ground. The air turned hot, too hot for a normal planet. Dr. Rao read the scans with trembling hands. This energy, it's ancient. Older than the city. Older than the clans. It feels alive. Erisvel sat strapped into the chair beside Mira, her body weak, but her eyes glowing brighter than ever. Every pulse from deep below hit her like a hammer. She gritted her teeth to stay awake. She whispered, the heart below is close. I can feel it breathing. Mira didn't look away from the control panel. Then we're close too. We'll stop it, Eris. I promise. The shuttle descended deeper until the narrow crack expanded suddenly into a massive, cathedral-like cavern. Mira gasped. Rao froze. Erisvel trembled. They had reached the origin of the Crimson Current. The cavern stretched for miles, an underground world of red rivers, glowing stone bridges, and giant columns covered in ancient carvings. At the center stood a massive structure shaped like a spiraling tower, half organic, half machinery. Red veins pulsed across its surface like a heartbeat. The heart below. Around it, dozens of hooded watchers stood in absolute silence, chanting in a voice that echoed like distant thunder. Mira whispered, they're performing the ritual again. Erisvel shook her head weakly. Not again, They are completing what my family failed to finish. Rao pointed to the glowing spiral. They're drawing energy from the core. If that tower activates, the city will collapse. Mira grabbed a plasma rifle. Then we break the ritual. The moment they stepped out of the shuttle, the Watchers turned, hundreds of glowing red eyes fixing on them. Mira raised her rifle. We're not here to fight. The Watchers moved as one, stepping aside to form a path. A tall figure emerged from the crowd, its face hidden behind a black mask carved with swirling lines. Erisvel inhaled sharply. That's the High Keeper. He knows me. The Keeper's voice echoed unnaturally, as if spoken from inside the cavern walls. You were chosen, marked at birth. The river rejected you once, but now the heart below will claim what belongs to it. Erisvel collapsed to her knees, clutching her head. Stop calling me. I won't return. The Keeper raised his hand. A wave of psychic force slammed into Erisvel. She screamed, body convulsing as the glowing cracks on her skin spread. Mira grabbed her, shielding her from the energy. Enough, Mira shouted. She chooses her own fate. The Keeper tilted his head. Humans do not decide the fate of the marked. He gestured toward the tower. The entire structure began to glow brighter, pulsing rhythmically like a waking giant. Dr. Rao's scanner beeped wildly. Mira, the energy spike just doubled. If it reaches the top, the cavern will collapse and drag the city with it. Mira pulled Erisvel up. We stopped the tower. Now, they ran across the red stone bridge, Watchers moving in slow, deliberate steps toward them. Mira shot warning bursts into the ground, buying time. Erisvel struggled to keep moving, every step a battle against the psychic pull. But as they neared the tower, the pulsing patterns carved into its surface suddenly responded to her presence, glowing brighter each time she approached. Dr. Rao's voice shook. It's reacting to her marks. She might be the only one who can shut it down. Erisvel placed her trembling hand on the spiraling tower. A blast of light exploded outward. Mira shielded her eyes. Rao stumbled backward. Erisvel screamed as visions flooded her mind. Thousands of years of memories, lost voices of past sacrifices, the endless hunger of the heart below demanding obedience. Her knees buckled. Mira caught her. Eris, stay with me. Erisvel's voice broke. It wants to take my mind, it wants to become me. Mira shook her head fiercely. Then fight. Humanity believes in fighting impossible things. You're stronger than it thinks. Rao placed a stabilizer on Erisvel's back. If she can reverse the flow, just for a moment, it will overload. Erisvel looked at Mira, eyes full of fear and hope. Hold me. Myra's arms wrapped around her tightly. Erisvel pressed her hands against the tower again. The pulsing lines reversed direction. The heart below trembled. The Watchers screamed for the first time. The cavern shook violently. Cracks raced across the ceiling. Red rivers shifted and boiled. The tower's glow flickered, dimmed, then surged uncontrollably. Rao shouted, It's destabilizing. Mira, pull her back. It's going to blow. But Erisvel whispered, Not yet. I must finish it. The High Keeper yelled, voice booming across the cavern. Stop the marked one. The Watchers charged. Mira lifted her rifle with one hand and held Erisvel with the other. She fired at the bridge, collapsing the path between them and the Watchers. Not today, Mira growled. HFY, remember? The tower's glow reached its peak. The heart below roared, and everything turned white. White light flooded the entire cavern, swallowing every shadow, every stone, every Watcher. For a long moment, there was no sound, only the heavy silence of something ancient breaking apart. Then the light faded. Slowly, color returned. Mira blinked hard, trying to adjust her eyes. The floor beneath her vibrated faintly, like the final heartbeat of a dying titan. Smoke curled through the air. Red veins on the cavern walls dimmed and flickered out. Dr. Rao coughed somewhere nearby. We're alive. How in the world are we alive? Mira didn't answer. Her arms were wrapped tightly around Erisvel, who lay unconscious, head resting against Myra's chest. The glowing cracks on her skin had faded, leaving only soft silver markings. Her breathing was shallow, but steady. She was alive. Mira exhaled shakily. You did it. Eris, you did it. Around them, the Watchers lay collapsed on the stone floor. Their masks were cracked. Their ritual robes dimmed. The High Keeper struggled to rise, but fell again, as if his strength had been sucked away. The tower, the heart below, had changed. Its once glowing veins were now dull and gray. The spiraling structure had frozen mid-pulse, locked in a state between life and death. The enormous cavern felt empty, like something massive had finally gone to sleep. Or died. Dr. Rao scanned rapidly. The gravitational field is dropping. The energy spike is gone. The city above, it's stabilizing. Mira looked down at Erisvel. She cut the connection. Rao nodded. Or she reversed it. Whatever the heart below was feeding on, it doesn't have access anymore. A weak voice interrupted them. Mira. Erisvel's eyes fluttered open. Her pupils glowed faintly, but the madness and pain were gone. She blinked in confusion. Is it over? Mira helped her sit up gently. Yeah, you stopped it. Tears glimmered in Erisvel's eyes. I was so afraid I would become part of it forever. Mira smiled softly. Not on my watch. Erisvel leaned her head against Myra's shoulder, exhaustion pulling at her every breath. But then, a deep cracking sound echoed across the cavern. The High Keeper had risen, weak but furious. He pointed a trembling finger at Erisvel. You have broken the ancient bond. You have doomed us all. Mira stood in front of Erisvel, stepped toward her again, and I swear. But Erisvel touched Myra's hand gently. No, let him speak. She stood, weak but resolute. Her voice was calm. Keeper, the heart below demanded blind obedience. But that obedience brought suffering and fear. The river rejected me because the world above was not meant to be ruled by something buried beneath it. The keeper shook with rage. The ritual kept balance. Without it, chaos will. A deep rumble interrupted him. But this time, it wasn't a threat. The red rivers turned blue, calm, soft, peaceful. Light reflected off the water like gentle stars. The cavern warmed, losing its strange, unnatural heat. The keeper stared in shock. The river, it lives without the heart below? Erisvel nodded. It was never meant to take life, only to guide it. The keeper fell to his knees, defeated. The watchers lowered their heads, their glowing eyes extinguishing one by one. Mira supported Erisvel as they walked back to the shuttle. Rao followed, shaking his head in disbelief. I have no idea how to write the report for this. Mira smirked. Just say we saved a planet. Rao rolled his eyes. A rewritten biological geological energy system with a telepathic catalyst? Sure. Easy. As they reached the shuttle ramp, Erisvel paused and turned to Mira. You risked everything for someone you didn't know. Mira shrugged. Humans do that sometimes. Erisvel smiled. Small, warm, real. Your people are strange, but kind. Mira helped her inside. The shuttle lifted off, rising through the fissure and back into the cool violet sky of Tessara Prime. The storm had ended. The river shimmered below like a quiet jewel. When they reached the Aurora's dawn, the entire crew waited, cheering, relieved, amazed. Erisvel watched them with wonder. You saved me, she whispered. But you also saved my world. Mira rested a hand on her shoulder. Then promise me one thing. Erisvel tilted her head. What? Make sure your people never throw anyone into that river again. Erisvel nodded, determination in her eyes. I will change it. The ritual ends today. But as they walked down the corridor, a faint sound drifted through the ship's sensors, like a heartbeat echoing from deep within the planet. Rao frowned. Did you hear that? Mira paused. Erisvel turned, eyes widening slightly. The cavern was quiet. The tower was dead. The river was calm. So, what was still beating? The story wasn't finished. Not yet. And somewhere in the depths of Tessara Prime, something else had awakened.